Let's get educated. That's why we're here, to bring you the stories impacting K-12 classrooms and college campuses. It's time for a little education.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the inaugural episode of Educated. I am Katie Petrick, joined today by my partner in crime, Mr. David Fiorazzo. Whether you're watching the show or you're listening to the audio podcast, we are excited to share this time with you.
Well, as most of you know, America's schools are a mess. And so with many stories emanating from K through 12 classrooms and college campuses, it's hard to keep track of all of them. So allow Katie and I to be your guides through this nonsense. And hopefully by the end of each show, you'll find yourself more educated and better prepared to speak up and fight back. Katie.
All right. As part of this news show, we want to include you as much as possible. So we've created a simple form for you to submit questions and comments. Visit stayeducated.org to stay connected with us. That's stayeducated.org. We read every message that is sent to us. So please send away. All right, Joe Biden and the Democrats make an enormous power play for votes, forcing 87% of Americans to pay for the college loans of the other 13%.
Moral of the story, this is immoral. That's right. Unfortunately, friends, we're starting with a really big topic today, socialist policy in America. So the headline, Biden announces details of student loan cancellation plan. So the Democrat socialist, student loan forgiveness, you got to put that in quotes, right? Forgiveness, I forgive you, I forgive you, would cancel $10,000 in debt per borrower earning under $125,000. Now, 42% would benefit those earning more than $82,400 per year. Here's a quote from the article. A report from the Brookings Institution observed that 1/3 of student debt is owed by the wealthiest 20% of households, while only 8% is owned by the bottom 20%, likely because graduate degrees are often necessary for the most lucrative professions. So let me just bring the Bible in. I mentioned immorality. The immorality of one of the 10 commandments is thou shalt not steal. So we're talking about theft. We're talking about socialism, redistributing the wealth here, and it is not fair. The Bible says God is no respecter of persons, and it does say evil men do not understand justice. And we know there's a lot of evil men in our government, but we won't point fingers on yet. Let me just quote a proverb. The wicked borrows, but does not pay back. And the Bible also says you shall do no injustice in court. You shall not be partial to the poor or defer to the great, but in righteousness you judge your neighbor. So it says in the Bible, this is our guideline, at least one of my guiding principles is go to the Word of God. What does it say? You shall not be partial to the poor. God is no respecter of persons. If you borrow something, you pay it back. Those are moral principles. Katie, pick it up from there.
Well, you started off by saying the moral of the story is that this is immoral. And the Biden administration had to do something. Biden has been being yelled at, although he doesn't know what's going on, for ever since he got into office, because they voted him into office with the expectation, those socialist Democrats, that he would cancel all student debt. Education would be free. No one has to pay for it except the trees, where the money just magically grows.
Yes.
And so he's been waiting, or whoever, has been waiting and working on this whole plan to cancel student debt. And so what they came up with, or down with in their mind, I guess, is $10,000 of college student debt will be forgiven if they're making, again, under the $125,000. But if they actually took out Pell Grants, then then you actually get an additional $10,000. They get 100% more. They get $20,000 in student loan debt repaid, again, by who?
The
that would be all of the rest of us.
All of us.
And so, of course, I mean, this is coming from Joe Biden, and Joe Biden knows what he's talking about, right? Let's just listen to what Joe Biden has to say.
Yes.
Is this unfair to people who paid their student loans or chose not to take out loans?
Is it fair to people who, in fact, do not own multi-billion-dollar businesses. If she wants these guys to give them all a tax break, is that fair? What do you think?
What about people who paid their loans, though, struggle to pay their loans, and now others don't have to?
He walks out. He walks away. Katie, did you have student loans? Did you ever have student loans?
I technically did have student loans.
Technically.
But I took them out to ensure, just in case something happened during college. But I saved that money. It was like my backup, and I paid it off immediately, so I didn't collect any actual loan interest on it. So yes, I did, but I paid it back, and then I got dinged on my credit for it. How that happened, I'm not sure, but technically yes.
So what was he asked there? The reporter was kind of
is it fair?
Yeah.
That
is it fair?
Is it fair?
Is it just?
What about all the people who did take out the loans and pay back the loans?
Yes.
And he says, well, is it fair, and where's my pudding? Like, that's what he said. And so he's putting this non sequitur in there. Well, is it fair that, there are millionaire businessmen out there? Like, it has nothing to do with the other one. That's not what we're talking about. Someone should have come back with, is it fair that people get cancer? Should we pay for the loan forgiveness for those who have actual cancer, which they didn't willingly say, sign the name over saying, I'm going to get cancer now, and I will pay back the money for my hospital bills. No, we can't cancel any of that debt, but we can cancel debt for you who decided to go study gender studies at Dartmouth or wherever.
Some people are wondering who's going to pay for all this, and Ducey asked a great question. Let's roll that clip.
But when you forgive debt, you're not just disappearing debt. So who is paying for this?
And then I'll give you the second part. We lifted the pause, right? We're going to lift the pause at the end of this year, which is going to matter, right? Which is going to offset a lot of what we're doing as well. When you think about the $4 billion that's going to go back into as revenue back into this process of folks paying right their college tuition, that matters as well. So we are doing this in a smart way.
So, Katie,
smart coming out of that mouth, Karine Jean-Pierre.
Did she answer the question? Who's going to pay for it? I didn't hear the answer.
When I thought the redhead was not the greatest of press secretaries, she was smart though. She actually knew what to say and how to say it. I didn't agree with what she said, but Karine Jean-Pierre, she has the Joe Biden issue of not actually being able to put words formulated into a structure that would make up a sentence, and therefore all of us are left wondering what does that mean? But don't worry, we still can pay for whatever nonsense they're putting out there into the
she
ethers.
mentioned a pause at the end of the year. What did you understand?
Yeah,
that?
She's lying.
So the government is going to pause what?
She's lying through her teeth, and that's pretty much the moral of the story.
Oh my goodness. Okay, really quick though, out of those that do graduate, 41% of students hold jobs that don't require a college degree, and 73% work in a job that does not require the degree that they earned. That's just some college degree stat that you can think about. So, still to come, America's Education Secretary says, let me see this. He says the quiet part out loud. This is great.
If you have a smartphone, tablet, Roku, or Apple TV, consider downloading the FreedomProject Media app. It's 100% free and includes all of our weekly shows, plus lecture series, archive programs, and award-winning animated videos for families like the Presidential Minute, Battles of America, and Heroes of the West. Don't rely on the social media giants to keep you informed. Simply download the FreedomProject Media app from your app store and allow notifications. And we'll let you know when a new video is ready.
Well, let's continue with money grows on trees here. Because apparently money has to grow on trees. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to afford all of this college debt forgiveness. That's right. Well, apparently, just so everyone's aware, the number that's been put out there is the overall cost for this year alone is $298 billion. Wow. That's like low estimates. And so you keep this whole like every year renewing this, you're talking upward 329 billion. They're estimating that it could go up to, and then all of this funding for what? But hey, whoa, what do I know, right? I'm just a lowly person who has many college degrees that I paid for and paid back on my loans. But hey, let's talk about the Education Secretary, Miguel Cardona, because we need to get his opinion on this. He clearly knows what we need here in America. I mean, he's an education
He knows how all this works.
secretary.
Yeah.
He would be reasonable in this understanding, but no, of course not. Actually, he has a lot to say, not positively.
But just the final one on this,
Sure.
the people that already paid their student loans,
Right.
they don't get anything out of this deal.
Right.
That's right. Okay.
Right.
Right.
Right. The people don't get anything.
Right.
Who paid,
Right.
did the responsible thing, worked hard, possibly 2 or 3 jobs to
Right.
pay off their student loans. They don't get anything up. Right.
Right. Now
And-
let's remember how budgets actually operate, because the federal government creates a budget that actually depends on what is the predicted income. Okay. And that's supposed to include that student loan payments are included. And so the cancellation of a large chunk of that debt in one fell swoop then means that there's going to be less of that actual income coming in. And so then the government has to compensate for that shortfall. They have to either reduce spending or increase the taxes. And which one do you think they're going to probably do? Taxes.
Right.
Because that's what they do. Because why would they reduce their own spending? No, we'll just tax more. Because this whole thing is a subsidized program now. We are subsidizing all of these people in their 20s and 30s, and some of them in their 40s who haven't paid back any college, or not just all their college debt yet. We're subsidizing them now. We're in the whole education, I guess, monolith. Because what happens now is all these universities, they're not going to spend less. The universities are looking like, we're going to get more people now. This is going to increase the demand.
Yeah,
People, because now it's like is me, I'm going to go get another degree. The first 10,000 is basically free.
Yeah.
And so now the universities are like, okay, well, if they're not going to be paying that extra 10,000 or 20,000, let's just increase how
Yes.
much we're going to have to charge said borrower, me, the student. Yep.
So let's review a little brief history. The federal debt has now increased by more than $3 trillion during Joe Biden's time in office. And let's be reminded, the Biden Democrats just gave Ukraine another $3 billion. So what's another almost $300 billion tax dollars to pay off student loans? So it's almost nothing. It is unfair, and especially to hardworking Americans, but I want to hear what Nancy Pelosi said. I heard that she did another flip-flop.
People think that the President of the United States has the power for debt forgiveness. He does not. He can postpone, he can delay, but he does not have that power. That has to be an act of Congress.
Speaker Pelosi said last year she thought that this was something a president could not do. It would require an act of Congress. So is this legal?
Yeah, look, the HEROES Act, page 637 to be exact, provides access, gives me the authority to provide a waiver to ensure that Americans are not worse off after an emergency, a national emergency, which the pandemic was.
Wow, even Nancy Pelosi a year ago was like, he doesn't have that power, Congress does. And then instead we have Miguel Cardona, who got his talking points on page, 637 to be precise? Yeah, he wrote it down on his hand, I'm sure. He says, well, no, I can do that. So what? We have that written down, that one person has that amount of power who was not elected by we the people? Oh, that's good to know. Well, speaking of being elected by the people, a woman of the people, if you will, a woman of all the people, all the natives of the land. Let's flash back a little bit to the one and only Senator Elizabeth Warren, because, I mean, if we didn't have Joe Biden, we could have had Elizabeth Warren as president, and I don't understand why we didn't, after how she spoke with an angry father when the father was talking to her about student loans.
I just want to ask one question. My daughter's getting out of school. I've saved all my money. She doesn't have any student loans. Am I going to get my money back? So you're going to pay for people who didn't save any money, and those of us that did the right thing get screwed.
No, it's not anybody got screwed. When we
Of
started,
course we did. My buddy had fun, bought a car, went on vacations. I saved my money. He made more than I did. But I worked a double shift, worked extra. My daughter's worksheet is 10. So you're laughing. Yeah, that's exactly what you're doing. We did the right thing, and we get screwed.
I appreciate
That's
it.
all right.
They shut the lights off. They didn't want,
They're like, we're done, we're
didn't-
done. And you know what? I can't imagine how we didn't get Elizabeth Warren as our president. But we have more to come. So when we come back, the NAACP blasts Biden's student loan forgiveness plan for coming up short, and taxpayers again are reminded that we've already spent $32 billion in student loans under just the Biden administration. That's next.
Today's show is sponsored by our friends at MyPillow. Save up to 66% on pristine quality bedding, towels, slippers, signature pillows, and much more when you use the code EDUCATED. That's EDUCATED, educated. Support this show and a great American company.
Okay, so maybe mom and dad, you're sitting at home right now just fuming, furious that we have to pay this money back. Well, at least you aren't like other people, like Derek Johnson, for instance, the president of the NAACP, who's sitting at home furious just like you, except for he's furious because we just did not give enough. According to his lovely tweet, at POTUS, that's the President of the United States, his decision on student debt cannot become the latest example of a policy that has left black people, especially black women, behind. This is not how you treat black voters who turned out in record numbers and provided 90% of their vote to once again save democracy in 2020. I actually just really enjoyed the end of that tweet, because if you're once again saving democracy in 2020, when else was it saved? When was that democracy saved? By voting for the Democratic Party. When? Give me some solid examples. So yeah, Derek Johnson and the NAACP is just one group that's very upset. They wanted to at least give back $50,000. 500% more, apparently. They wanted $50,000 in student debt to be canceled. And as you saw by the tweet, it's mostly wanting to go to black women. So there's pretty much that. Now, you have to remember $1.75 trillion in student loan debt. Federal loans actually make up 92.7% of that debt. And what we're talking about with this $10,000 forgiveness, $20,000 forgiveness, that's for those federal loans that are being taken out, not like private loans that you would get from a bank. And 40.3 million borrowers. There are 40.3 million borrowers that have said federal loan debt. And so the average balance per person, this is insane to me, is $37,667 in debt. How much money have you wasted going to these universities? And what have you gotten back for it? Have you gotten $37,000 worth of education?
The moral of this story is it's never enough for Democrat socialists. And it's this student loan, by the way, this should be called the Inflation Expansion Student Loan Act. But there's a tweet that I like from a former veteran, and this is Joey Jones, who reacted to Joe Biden's plan to cancel student loan for Americans making less than $125,000 a year. And he said, "I cannot believe I gave 2 legs for my tuition. What a dope I am. Hoorah."
Hoorah. All right, Before We Go is up next. Plus, David and I go deep into the vault, revealing some fun facts about our lives that may or may not be embarrassing for me and you. You've come this far, so please stick around.
We want to hear from you. If you have a question or comment for Katie, David, or any of our other show hosts, simply visit stayeducated.org. That's stayeducated.org and submit your question or comment. Our team loves to hear from you and might just give you a shout out on air. Again, visit stayeducated.org and connect with us.
All right, before we go on this first program of Educated, let's start in crazy California where gas-powered electric cars, or gas-powered cars, I should say, have just become enemy numero uno. In an unprecedented move, state regulators have agreed to ban the sale of new gas-powered cars in California by 2035. So under the plan, California will require 35% of new vehicles sold to produce zero emissions by 2026, 68% by 2030, and eventually 100% by 2035. Used cars will not be affected in the plan for now. California is not the only state working to end gas-powered vehicles. New York, Massachusetts, and Vermont are among at least 15 states pursuing similar goals. I would think they were mostly all blue states, but that's a sideline. The new policy comes just a week after Joe Biden signed the largest climate spending package in U.S. history, $370 billion. So, Katie, can you imagine what your average quick trip will look like if they have 100 cars charging at any given time?
Well, if we're talking specific to Quick Trip, we all know that you don't go to Quick Trip just for the gasoline. You go for the experience.
That's right.
So they would be okay. It's the rest of those gas stations that are going to be in trouble with this.
That's right. Wow. Well, speaking of ridding the world of gas-powered vehicles, one of Australia's largest banks has announced they will be doing their part to save Mother Gaia by refusing to offer loans for gas and diesel-powered cars by 2025. Bank Australia's Chief Impact Officer says, "We think that the responsible thing for us to do next is to ensure that our vehicle lending doesn't lock our customers into higher carbon emissions and increasingly expensive running costs in the years ahead." Recent numbers find 20,000 electric vehicles were sold in Australia in 2021, representing only 2% of the market for all cars. Bank Australia, which also recently set a target date of 2035 to achieve net zero emissions, not even sure what that means, says it will still offer loans for secondhand gas cars, quote, until there is a viable and thriving market for electric vehicles. So, Katie, capitalists are now saying they would rather take a hit to the bottom line than allow one more gas-powered car on the road. Can you believe this?
Well, it's Australia, right? Yeah. So I'm thinking what they're going to do is really increase the kangaroo population, and then everyone can just ride in the pouch, in the little Joey pouch there, and just hop around. I don't know. It's Australia. They've been doing some weird things down there, under.
But what happens in Australia doesn't stay in Australia anyway. All right, let's wrap things up with the story of a man who has proven himself to have an unhealthy attachment to his Apple AirPods. That's right. Lewis Ellis was on a flight from Bangkok, Thailand, to Doha, Qatar, when he mistakenly left his Bluetooth AirPods on the plane. Ellis said when he realized they were missing, he began tracking them through Apple's Find My app. 5 months later, he boarded a flight to Qatar, traveling 4,000 miles, to finally reunite with his AirPods. Was it worth it? Well, watch this guy's reaction when he finally tracked them down.
As I flew from Thailand to Doha, I left my AirPods on the plane. Now, I wasn't allowed to go back on the plane to get them, but I was told, don't worry, when you get on the plane, you're on the same flight to Manchester, they should still be there. Which, okay, I believe them. Fast forward 5 months, and I've still not seen them, and they've been traveling the world, and I've been on my stories, I've complained, I've kicked off, and I've just point blank moaned. Then a glimmer of hope, they landed back in Doha and they stayed there this time. And I watched them and I waited and I decided now was my chance and I was going to take action.
Nervous, don't know if it's going to work.
Yes! Yes! This is life on planet Earth in 2022. In the end, cost of the trip to find his AirPods, $2,700. Cost to buy new AirPods, $180. So In the end, Ellis said it was the greatest adventure and pettiest thing he's ever done. Katie, is there any item that you own that you would travel that far to retrieve? Can you think of anything?
Outside of children? Like my children, yes. AirPods? No, maybe one of my Argyle sweaters. Yes,
right.
Maybe one of my Argyle sweaters.
That wraps up this segment. More to come next time.
All right, before we actually let you go, we let you go, David and I want to find more ways to connect with you out there. So what better way to do that than to share some of our fun facts about ourselves? So for the next few weeks, we're opening up the diaries, my little diary that I don't actually keep, and we are sharing our deepest secrets. So, drumroll. My fun fact of the day is I do believe that John Adams is the greatest founding father of all the fathers. And if you want to come at me with that with anyone else, let's go toe-to-toe, mano-y-mano about this, because John Adams is the man.
Well, he's your boy.
He my
I
boy.
remember you
He my
saying
boy,
that.
Johnny.
So, here's a fun fact. For me, we're a dog family. Rosanna, my wife, and I love rescuing dogs and loving them, and going through the brutal stage of having to say goodbye, then putting ourselves through it all over again. We've had 4 dogs at one time, and a total of 7 dogs in our 21 years of marriage. So those are 3. That was our favorite pack right there. That was Jesse, Jonah, Gracie. So we just love dogs. So.
Well, I have one boy and you have several boys and
Yes.
girls, I guess. Well, I don't know about you, David, but I feel like the knowledge seems to be overflowing for this, the premiere episode of our new show, Educated. So make sure to smash that like button if you are watching us on the social media, and please send us your feedback at stayeducated.org. For David and myself, thanks for watching, listening, and supporting this show. Until next time, stay educated.